Uh, I went to hell and now I'm back. How else I should have started when I want to describe my experience after watching a movie called Hell of a Summer, written and directed by Billy Brick, who I don't exactly know who that guy is, and of course the Stranger Things kid, Finn Wolfhard. Maybe the other guy was also on Stranger Things. I'm sorry, I barely watch Stranger Things. I know it was kind of like a popular phenomenon, and people still waiting for the finale and all this stuff. I don't know much about all this stuff, but as a guy who got kind of like a gradual interest on slasher film, I I did kind of like saw my fair shares of those camp slasher films that were popular ever since Friday the 13th, and it's been a while that we got kind of like a. I saw something like that in the big screen. I did also revisit some of the classic. I did, of course, watch the. How can I say? What was it called? Sleepaway Camp. Yeah, Sleepaway Camp. That one was very interesting. I don't remember what are some others, but they summer camp slashers usually have kind of like the same trend. The usual thing. There's a killer roaming around, and you have to deal with obnoxious campers or obnoxious camp counselors. In a way, probably that probably this is the reason why I do have kind of like a guilty pleasure to the Total Drama Island series. It was a fun show. I haven't seen the reboot, although I saw some clips of it, and unfortunately, that reboot lost its touch because it doesn't have the correct voice. That's pretty much I will say about that. And in a way, because of that interest, this is the reason why I was interested on Hell of a Summer, which, according to what I saw, the movie came out in 2023. That was 2 years, and right now we're having it here. I think it maybe because the movie's Canadian or from another country, or maybe it was kind of like on distribution, or you know what? I don't know much about what these distribution things. It's just my guess is as good as there is. So I went there. And you might be thinking, okay, why didn't you go to watch Minecraft? Maybe I will, but it's gonna be a hard task considering that there is a certain actor that I despise. But that's another story. I'm just here for a hell of a summer, and so I watch it. That movie sucked. I really didn't like that movie. I despise it. I really despise this movie. This definitely probably gonna be one of my top 10 worst movies of the year. Although I didn't hate it as much as some other movies that I saw this year. Although I have to fill that quota now because I hardly went to the movies, to fill the quota. It's still time, but I have to feel kind of like I want to feel a quota in order to make a top 10 best and worst of the year. It's almost like a kind of like self obligation kind of out of me. But don't get me, it's not an obligation. I do this as a hobby. But still, this one so far is gonna be one probably on my list because man, that hell of a summer it was an awful experience. It was for a slasher film. It's not scary, and it's not even that gory, and it kind of makes you think. It kind of makes the R rating a little bit questionable. It's not even it's not even funny as a horror comedy because it's not. It's full of obnoxious people that showcases, the kind of like the most unlikable parts of the current generation or the generation that they just want to showcase on this one. in this one. They took the kind of like the plot of a slasher film, almost like Friday the 13th, and it not doesn't even work, not even as a satire, because if this was gonna be kind of like a satire, I didn't see it. Just it's just kind of like awful. I really didn't like this movie. So let me go a little bit more. So let's go with what this movie's about. The movie centers around this guy played by Fred Heschinger. He played this character named Jason. I don't know if this was kind of like a wink, wink, nod, nod to Jason Voorhees. But the thing is that he's kind of like a camp counselor, even though everyone criticizes saying that, hey, you're too old, because you're 23 years old. 23 years old. You know what? At least an older camp counselor probably will have in their hands to have more responsibility than probably youngsters trying to have an authority to themselves. So honestly, yeah. But apart from that, this guy is kind of like a little bit overly nice and overly charming, and he just goes there because he's saying that he's kind of attached to it. He feels like, okay, I think there's kind of a running gag of saying that, okay, I'm too old. Even the mother even is like, I don't know why you're doing it. You must move on. But he's like feeling attached to this camp, in which then he reunites with the other camp counselors, which are kind of like youngsters, and they're kind of like the most obnoxious people that you can even imagine. These people are basically the typical stereotypes of the new generation of youngsters, but times 5, and well, suddenly they're stuck in a slasher because someone around them is killing them one by one. Yep, that's technically the story, and I shouldn't be surprised, because since these are coming from from two of the main people, you know what? Let me check again if Billy Brick was on Stranger Things, and that's Stranger Things. Okay, and then let me see. Was he in Stranger Things? No, but he was on Ghostbusters Afterlife, of course. Of course. No, he wasn't on Stranger Things. No. But considering that he was on Ghostbusters Junior, it's kind of a little bit on the same page, and considering that it's these two, Billy Brick and Finn Wolfhard, thinking that they just want to make kind of like they have kind of still a little bit attached to the mentality of Stranger Things, but unfortunately there's something, it might work on some and some others, but in this case, it wanted to make it didn't even. Honestly, I wanted to believe that this wanted to be a satire, but it wasn't. And I wouldn't have minded that the story, yeah, is basic. It follows, the plot. Like, for example, we see a pre-murder. We see the pre-murder before the story. Then of course, the development. The development actually takes a little bit overly long without things going. It kind of feels like a little bit draggish. Then of course, the murder happens. Then everyone begins to suspect each other. Then they suspect the main character, and then there's the reveal. There's the reveal, and then there's the happy ending. This one is one of those that doesn't end with a sequel bait or something like that. Still, I don't care if I spoil the movie. I mean, according to what it is this movie was finished 2 years ago, but. It might not sound bad, but I will tell you that the execution and some of the beats of the movie is messy. They are plot points that it just comes out of nowhere. Things are kind of like unexplained, and and it becomes kind of like a drag, and you don't buy, some of the characters. Oh my god, this characters is probably one of my least favorite things about this. Let's start out, of course, with the actors. Let's again. I start out with Fred Hetchinger, in which he tries his best, with doing the kind of like this charismatic character, and honestly, he's kind of a little bit kind of like the nicest of all the cast, but sometimes overly, because I don't even understand what was his arc. I'll say he's just kind of like this 23-year-old counselor who goes to summer camp, and he kind of wants to bring them together, but everyone is kind of pushing him, demanding him, and treating him pretty badly. But this dude apparently is such a doormat that he kind of feels like he's kind of responsible. He just they wanted to make kind of like a story in which the guy can't let go of the good things about summer camp, and boy, that what even there's something that I want to criticize about what the summer camp looks like, and my god, this guy kind of gets obnoxious, and there was kind of like a moment in which he's gonna feel like hero responsible, but god, did you can't root for a character that it gets a little bit overly naive, and that is, of course, a contrast with another character. Let me see if a character that is played by Abby Quinn. She's kind of like one of the ex-counselor. He was the ex-girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, and she's basically kind of like the only character who actually root, because she's not exactly dumb, and is the only character who actually has some common sense. She's the only one of all these characters who doesn't kind of like a stereotype. Even she basically she's intelligent. She's spout out. So, some of the things that they should be done. She's worried about the main character. I mean, she found some legit worriness to her. She protects him, and for good reasons. But of course, it comes kind of like a moment in which she's basically right in saying that these guys are assholes, so you don't need to care for them. But the other guy's like, no, but I'm the camp counselor. I want to be something like that, and you don't root for it. Then, of course, at this moment, kind of comes back to bite him in the ass or something like that. And of course, we got the. Of course, we got the. Of course, the counselors, and of course, Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brick. They self-insert themselves into the movie at these young counselors who. They're kind of like a little bit like doofus kind of guys. They're kind of like friends, and they have the hearts on. What was the name of that character? Krista Nazarius is the name of the actress. They apparently one falls in love with her, but the way she acts is she really finds they don't deserve each other. They act like like spoiled children, and maybe they're acting saying that okay, that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be spoiled children, but man, that they go kind of like overboard. And in a way, also Finn Wolfhard's character is kind of coming kind of like an arc, saying that he just wants to showcase himself to the other one, and he doesn't. He's kind of like. He's basically not brave, and he's kind of like the most reluctant of all the characters, but and that whole kind of like thing and probably love triangle that happens, it's so shallow, and of course let's not forget that the girl is terrible in a way. I just the more this comes, I just wanted Jigsaw to come and put them in the love triangle game. It's a South Street 3D and all that stuff. There's some other characters. Let me go a little bit of a rundown, because I actually feel like that you don't need to know. There is kind of like this girl who is self-obsessed on popularity. There's the guy who he's all kind of like in chains, and he's kind of like like this rapper generation or something like that, or a ghetto generation. I'm sorry if I make some ruffles some better, but that's kind of like the best way I can describe. There is the moon girl who she believes in spirits. There's the vegan girl who she's always picky on saying I want tofu burger because I'm a vegan, and of course apparently and of course she really discriminates other the meat eaters because she's like she's calling them killers or something like that. That kind of people. There is kind of like the guy who is kind of like into theater and he thinks that he's very artistic, but he's also kind of annoying. And there's some other ones that barely kind of like a character, but most of them they're all assholes. They are awful people, and you don't root for them. It's one of those slasher movies where you just can't wait for the killer to come. The killers, whatever the movie wants to tell you, but you just these are just characters and a meat grinder, and even for 2D characters. When a 2D character doesn't have a kind of like a sliced sense of likability and rudeness, you can tell that the movie is just kind of like a ploy. I mean, I can tolerate 2D in a sense, but these didn't work. They don't work. And of course, I gotta talk about the killer in this one. Basically, the killer is kind of like Jason Voorhees. Well, not exactly. It's more kind of like a combination between Pamela Voorhees and the killer from last year's Founders Day, because the big thing about this killer is that it just runs around in a robe and with a devil costume, the typical red devil costume. No, not the costume, just the mask. The Red Devil mask that they have it on, something like that. It's just, and it's not exactly memorable. Although that part I wouldn't have gone. But then, of course, comes with the reveal, which I'll get to it in a moment. That the reveal is stupid. The big reveal is so stupid. And okay, the cinematography, I will say that. Okay, it was shot fine. It has some good shots. Except that for a movie that claims itself that is R-rated, the kills are off-screen. 90% of the kills are off-screen and doesn't go gore. They only get the R rating because you're gonna see shots of someone, having a broken guitar shoved on their mouth, and there's a decapitated head, of course. That's the only reason. That's one of the only reasons they got an R rating, and it just it feels. In this day and age, I will say that even for horror standards, that is a tame R rating. Maybe they got that. They just got that R rating just for it. It didn't go out wild. Even in the early Friday the 13th, we got an incredible and gory special scene in which a guy slowly gets his neck pierced on the back of its neck, and that is enough of. If I could have seen something like that, that will actually deserve an R rated. But no, lots of the kill off screen. I mean, even if you give me the practical blood effects, it didn't commit to it. Why bother? Why bother? But I will say that there are two kills that are actually kind of clever. But one of them is because of the execution, and the other one is because of the kind of like the way it was handled. A line of dialogue that, for as unfunny this movie is, this was the only one that gave me a little bit of a chuckle. And even the audience was bored, but that was the only one that gave kind of like a legit laugh. The first one, it was kind of like a camera trick at the beginning of the movie where one of the pre-kills, one of the characters get in the car and turn on the lights, but it stays there, and the character kind of looks like almost like she's kind of waiting, but you might think that she saw the killer or something like that. But instead, then it is already revealed that with a neat camera trick that the killer actually stabbed the character in the back. And I actually liked the camera trick that they did with this one, and the execution of the camera was good. And the other one that I actually like, even though it was a very lame kill, and probably one of the few ones that actually was a little bit showcased, is when the obnoxious ghost girl, she goes around, she goes looking around. She was kind of like a part, and then she gets stabbed in the back, and but her reaction, it was like, oh, finally. That reaction, her reaction to being killed, and because she wanted to finally join the spirit, it was like, finally. It was kind of like a little bit unintentionally. Well, it was kind of like hilarious, I would say. But these are kind of like the only kills that they have. And now comes not just the obnoxious. Now I'm going to talk a little bit kind of like the executions of the movie, in which thematically, this is where it doesn't work, because I don't even get what was the whole plot in the arc, because we wanted to showcase, the character of Jason trying to connect with the younger generation, but everyone kind of dismiss him because you're too old, or you're too old, you're too overly nice, or something like that, and it doesn't handle it that way, and nobody kind of like respects him. Probably the thing how there was kind of like they wanted to showcase that the Finn Wolfhard character was was kind of like the only one who kind of have a little bit of an empathy to him, but it wasn't well constructed. It kind of deviates a little bit too much when he has kind of like when he has this love triangle that was obnoxious as frick. And then comes kind of like one of the biggest plot holes, in which one of the characters, he was basically kind of like I don't remember much. It basically kind of like captured and escape from the killers. And apparently he begins to say that he basically saw the killers when it removes its mask. And he reveals that the killer is none other than a protagonist, Jason. And everyone then becomes to accuse him, and they even contemplating on torture him because, well, he's the killer and all this stuff. They get to accuse him that he's a killer. And the movie actually gives almost no explanation of why he comes up with that conclusion. Why the guy actually accused the guy that it was him. Especially when it is shown the true identity of the killers. And I don't care. I'm not going to put any spoiler, because I will reveal who is the killer. It's actually the killers. The killers is actually the what was it? The girl who is obsessed with popularity, the one that I just say that the popular girl who she also faked her death, and her boyfriend who is the guy with the chain, the one that I say that he looks like he's a little bit ghettoish or something like that. So they begin to have they are having this murder spree, and the reason they do it is absolutely stupid. The reason they're doing it, because she wants to be popular. That's all. She wants to make all this just for popularity. Nothing much, nothing less. And even she got angry when they want to accuse our main protagonist as the killer. It's just like, why the guy say it was him or something like that? It's almost like she didn't want it. So what was the point of having this trusting the main character stick? So yeah, what was the freaking point? And again, everything kind of sounds, it goes so obnoxious. And of course, we got our protagonist who basically he was not almost like a nothing burger, and in which he just started caring about them because he wants to feel responsible, something like that. But you don't buy it, especially when when the other one treat him like shit. And I don't know if the movie wanted to make kind of like a message saying that it kind of, there is a generational gap about people, no, younger generations not getting frustrated with older generations that they just, okay. And also they just wanted to criticize, older generation who are gonna work as a camp counselor, despite saying that you're out of your prime, you're not supposed to be there. It's still first of all, it's still a job, and second, you're probably gonna need someone older, to supervise this place, because oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. This camp, it's so 80s and so 70s that I don't think that you can. Correct me if I'm wrong. That place really kind of needed some remodeling, because this is a 70s camp stuck in the 2000s. It really needed a little bit of remodeling. Although I wouldn't mind, of course, and I mean, they wanted for the setting and all this stuff, but honestly, I don't know what to say. But and yeah, I was also gonna say about how unfunny the movie is, because none of the jokes land, except for a few that I said. Everyone is kind of like this snarky Gen Z kind of humor. They just spouting out, they're saying that, hey, something like that, and a bunch of obnoxious people. I can see this, and okay, I'm gonna try to end this. I can see people trying to defend this movie, but for the best of me, I really wasn't into it. I found this movie. I didn't like this movie. I found it obnoxious, messy on its thematic. It tried a little bit too hard, I'll say. And honestly, I don't know if this is probably the first Finn Wolfhard, Billy Brake kind of project that they wanted to do, and good for them. Not always your first try is gonna be your best. It could have been worse. I'll give it a little bit of credit of that, because you can tell that they do want it to show what they love of these kind of movies. And I still kind of encourage, to keep on trying, but still, no. This movie still has a long, long way to get out from slasher hell.